We are off. All right, John chapter 16 is where we are tonight. We start off with a story. Tom Wright says, I once saw a film based on one of Charles Dickens's novels. He said the film was about poverty and the degrading effect it has on people. One of the most depressing scenes was in a lawyer's office, as the relatives of a man imprisoned for debt were desperately trying to bring a lawsuit to prove that he was owed a large sum of money which should be paid and earn him release. The lawyers didn't care. Their clerks didn't care. Nobody cared. The case, written out on a fine piece of parchment, was rolled up, tied with a ribbon, and left to gather dust, along with dozens, hundreds of others. And suddenly you could feel it, the cold realization that there was nothing you could do. Justice deferred as usually, justice denied, and it was being deferred indefinitely. There were many times during Israel's history when the nation as a whole found itself in the same situation, and they developed a regular way of thinking about it all, based on their unshakable belief that their God, the world's creator, was the God of justice. They imagined themselves in a law court. So as we begin tonight, let's think about what other familiar films or novels that you can think of illustrate this point about the denial of justice for the poor and underprivileged of this world. Can you think of any? Poor and underprivileged of this world.
Well, it's not a movie,
Okay.
but I get literature from, I just forgot the name of it, something Martyrs. And Pray for the Martyrs, and I get messages. I purchased a book from them. And it's stories of people
Voices of the Martyrs.
Voices of the Martyrs. Yeah. Stories of people who get killed and are beaten and raped and just maimed, just awful things, who are out there helping others for Christ.
Yeah.
There was a story on Facebook this week about a lady who had been jailed, and forget exactly what she'd been jailed for, but anyway, they let her out, and she was a drug addict, and this EMS guy went to help her. She stabbed him to death in the back of the ambulance, killed him.
Right.
Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kill a Mockingbird.
There's a lot of them, but I can't tell you the
Philadelphia.
names.
I know.
A real,
Philadelphia.
real-time incident is Sonny. That seems almost like a forgotten.
They've forgotten him, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
right.
just sitting there.
Yeah.
They
right.
finally took him out of the mental ward or section and put him in population. He's been already there 18 months or more without,
Yeah, just
And nothing going on.
just keeps on going and
I hear
going.
ya.
I wonder how many
How many others are like that?
how many lawyers they've appointed him
Oh,
over and over again.
and
Justice
if it happened
denied.
to him, there's probably a lot of them in there that,
Yeah.
You can have personal stories of our families of justice being denied and ultimately deferred. So yeah. So the nation of Israel developed a way of dealing with this, and you can read about it mostly in the Old Testament prophets, particularly Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Daniel. Daniel chapter 9 is the big one. And that is going to inform our reading tonight of John chapter 16. So let us begin. Let's read down to verse 15. I'll begin, and then if somebody will finish it up. Now Jesus is continuing the teachings and the sayings that he began way back in chapter 13. But here he says, I have said these things to you to keep you from stumbling. They will put you out of the synagogues. Indeed, an hour is coming when those who kill you will think that by doing so, they are offering worship to God. And they will do this because they have not known the Father or me. But I have said these things to you, so that when the hour comes, you may remember that I told you about them. I did not say these things to you from the beginning, because I was with you. But now I am going to him who sent me. Yet none of you asks me, where are you going? But because I have said these things to you, sorrow has filled your hearts. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth, it is to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the advocate will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. If someone would just finish that up, verses 8 to 15.
And when he comes, he will convict the world concerning sin and righteousness and judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to the Father, and you will see me no longer. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth, for he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. He will glorify me, for he will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine. Therefore I say that he will take what is mine and declare it to you.
Okay, all right. Let's begin looking at verses 1 to 4. They're kind of a review. All of these verses, are kind of reviewing again what he has said before, but they're new emphases. So looking at verses 1 through 4, what is repeated here? And what are some of these new emphases that we find in 1 to 4? So let's just take a look at that one little paragraph here, starting with what is repeated. What has he said before?
That he's going to be crucified.
Right. But particularly in verses 1 through 4, he says, you will be persecuted.
Yep.
Right. He's reminding them again that if they did this to me, remember, all right, and they'll think that they're doing this worshiping God, right? And so he doesn't want them to be surprised. Remember, right? So there, and I believe that is the new emphasis, is this emphasis on the fact that, because he hasn't said this yet, there's one big thing that's new here. He says that they'll think that they're worshiping God, offering true worship to God. And that makes me think right away of Saul of Tarsus, who really believed. He wasn't crazy. He really believed he was serving God, honoring Yahweh by stamping out this heresy, the way. So, okay. But Jesus is going away, and his followers need to know how things are going to be, and they're bound to be sad, right? But they should be comforted by the arrival of, my translation calls it the advocate. Another word that's good here is helper, right? The helper, the Holy Spirit. In particular, they should take heart, Jesus says. Now, remember, we talked a little bit about lawsuits at the beginning. In the lawsuit, they will find themselves in, not necessarily specific occasions of being brought before courts, but the heavenly lawsuit Jesus is imagining, right, between the world and his followers, in which he will be pitted against the world. The helper will do the job of the advocate, right? He'll be their advocate. So, in what ways will the Spirit, acting as the advocate, prove the world to be wrong in their assumptions and accusations regarding Jesus and his followers? Look at verses 8 through 11. What ways will the advocate prove the world to be wrong? There are 3 here.
About sin and righteousness and
Sin.
Judgment.
Sin,
Righteousness and
Right.
judgment.
righteousness, and judgment. That's right. Yeah. So there are 3 ways that he will, and look what he says about it. He says about sin, because they do not believe in me. Right. About righteousness, because I am going to the Father, and you will see me no longer. In other words, my words will be redeemed. my ministry will be redeemed. And then about judgment, because the ruler of this world not will be condemned, is or has been condemned. That's an important point. Yes, Satan is still very much present with us, but he has been defeated on the cross. Yeah, he's still out there, but the game is over. If the resurrection, the new heavens and new earth are already coming together. And that's supposed to help them to take heart, given what's coming. And yes, John, Jesus, everything that's going to happen with Jesus, yeah, and it's going to happen that night. So you got to think about that. I mean, I do too. It's going to think. So, okay, yeah, that's great. All right, let me see what else we got here. In what ways do we still see the Spirit advocating on behalf of those who suffer oppression and injustice in the world today? Because that's what's going to happen to the disciples, what's going to happen to Jesus. Ask that again. Think about this with me. In what ways do we still see the Spirit advocating on behalf of those who suffer oppression and injustice in the world today?
Giving compassion, you know, like the voice of the martyrs. I mean, they're out there without, they don't have to be there, but their compassion to serve God and help.
Who else? Are there any other ways that the Spirit is advocating for those who suffer oppression and injustice in the world today?
There are people who are working to lessen some of the injustices that are in the world.
Yes.
And there are ministries like in prison.
Yes, good. Answer, please.
The Spirit will give them strength to see it through.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. Hey, did y'all hear, or did you see the post? The Christian Church Disciples of Christ had a pastor arrested this week
Oh, yeah.
What?
in the rotunda
Yeah.
of the Capitol.
Yeah.
Reverend Barber.
In the rotunda.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he was, I don't know the details, but
He was
I
praying
saw
for
the
those who had been,
he's from North Carolina,
I'll find it.
and
for
he
you.
is a prophetic voice. He is
He was praying.
He was
Yeah,
praying, yeah. Carol, pull it up because I
I
don't want to
am.
misspeak,
I'm
but he
right
was
now.
arrested, yeah.
Reverend Barber, here it is.
Yeah,
Arrested in Capitol Rotunda after praying against the budget, the
the
Republican-led
budget that
budget.
the Republicans
Yeah.
want to pass. I don't want to jump off any cliffs.
No.
Just stating that
No.
we had, that he was there. He has been a champion, Reverend Barber has. I don't agree with everything that he says. I hope no one agrees with everything that I say. I don't agree with all of his actions, but his is a voice that is
Apparently.
kind of out front.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
According
Go
to
ahead,
this, apparently
And this
his,
is Tracia, right?
yeah,
Okay,
Tracia.
all right.
Tracia said, she said, "Thank you, Reverend William Barber, for always standing up for the poor, the powerless, and the voiceless.
Okay.
Thank you for causing the same kind of good trouble Jesus did."
Yeah, I think it just has to do with
Standing up for
slashing
the
of stuff.
oppressed, yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Slashing of stuff for programs, I think.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I just wanted to point that out, that is another example, that is another way that it's an option. So just wanted to put that out there, and so that one. Okay, but part of the job of the Spirit, and I'm looking particularly at verse 13 here, part of the job of the Spirit, the helper, or the advocate, will be to lead the disciples into all the truth. The Spirit will remind them of what Jesus had already said to them. The Spirit will also, as Hinton said, it'll guide them. It'll nudge their minds and imaginations into the ways of knowing and things to know that Jesus would like to have said, but couldn't at the time. Look at verse 13. He says, 12 actually. "I still have many things to say to you, but You cannot bear them now. Oh, that some preachers, and sometimes me, would hear those words of Jesus right there. I feel like you guys really are wanting to go to lunch or something like that. So you can't bear these now. But I think there was something a little more serious going on in the upper room. Many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. But when the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak on his own, but will speak whatever he hears, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. And then so forth and so on. So, how have you experienced this work of the Spirit, leading you into the truth and knowledge of Jesus? Yeah.
I used to joke about that little good guy and bad guy on my shoulders.
Yeah.
I always felt like once I knew Christ
Mm-hmm.
and once I was walking in his way the best I could, I get stopped short on some thoughts and ideas or wishes of the past. You get stopped short on them, and I know that's the Spirit.
There you go. That's good.
That's the only way I can explain it.
Okay.
I don't have a desire to go back to any of that life, trust me. But
Okay.
you think about it, you do
Of course you
revisit, and you revisit those people and
Oh, yeah.
stop right there. Don't go there.
Yeah, I really
And then I
do-
have to pray, oh, Lord, please.
I really admire people that have had that straight line walk with Jesus since the cradle. That you know, they haven't had those seasons or, you know, decades, if you will, of living another way, you know, or deciding to, or not being raised in. I really just admire cradle Christians.
Yeah, I
who
know.
just,
That would have been nice.
that would have been nice, wouldn't it have? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked to know.
But we all have walked the road that we have walked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's good.
I don't think those exist.
I think there are a few, you know, that maybe, oh, they sin. I don't know how they sin. Would somebody in here please tell me? And I know I'm being recorded. Carol, you'd be the best to tell us. How is it exactly that someone like Beatrice sins? Go. Tell me.
Well, I think that part of it is not, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take you.
I don't know if Linnell does either.
I think that
That was a compliment.
we each have a different standard, you might say. And what to us, we don't consider a sin, for instance, to Beatrice,
Yeah.
not coming to church on Sunday,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
For her, that would probably be a sin.
Yeah,
But, you know,
yeah.
sometimes it just happens that we feel like things get in the way, you can't make it.
Yeah. That's good.
But Beatrice might think that,
That might be. Yeah,
you know, so it's a different
Okay.
standard we have.
that's good. All right. Yeah. Hey, I don't know. That's good answers I've ever heard. Yeah. But that was a compliment, Linnell. Because, you know, it was not, you know, notice I didn't, you know, say me or John or him. You know, but yeah, that's good stuff. Y'all, thank y'all. I'm sorry we went down a trail. But yeah, experienced this work of the Spirit, leading us into the truth and knowledge of Jesus. I experienced a lot of this in seminary at McAfee. My world was just opened up to all that this book could be and that Jesus could be in my life. And it was wonderful. It was disconcerting a bit, but it wasn't disconcerting for long. You know, it really did just kind of open me up to an even richer engagement with Christ through His Word. So working on that prayer thing now. So we're still. I'm reading Timothy Keller's book Prayer right now, and I'm feeling convicted. He said he couldn't pray. Well, look, God rest his soul. He said I couldn't pray either. I was 55 before. He said his wife came to him. They were having some issues. She came down with Crohn's, and he was diagnosed with another kind of cancer. He eventually got pancreatic, and that's what took his life. But he had another kind of cancer, thyroid cancer, and his wife came to him, and they were in their 50s, he said, and she came to me and said, Tim, I would like for us to pray together as a couple every night. And they had not been doing that. And,
A lot of people don't.
but they started doing it. He said, even when he was away, they would talk, and they would, or Skype or whatever, and they would pray. So I'm doing a lot of work on that, just inside of me. So, but the Spirit, I think, is leading. I mean, it really is. Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. Got some more to read here. How about 16 through 24?
A little while, and you will see me no longer, and again a little while, and you will see me. So some of his disciples said to one another, what is this that he says to us? A little while, and you will not see me, and again a little while, and you will see me? And because I am going to the Father? So they were saying, what does he mean by a little while? We do not know what he is talking about. Jesus knew that they wanted to ask him, so he said to them, is this what you are asking yourselves? What I meant by saying a little while, and you will not see me, and again a little while, and you will see me? Truly, truly, I say to you, you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. Anybody else want to read?
You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because all of her joy that a child is born into the world. So with you. Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. In that day you will no longer ask me anything. I will tell you the truth. My Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. Until now you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's go back and look at 16 through 19. What point is John trying to make by including this funny little dialogue? It is funny.
Yeah, silly.
A little while, and you will no longer see me, and again a little while, and you will see me. And then they said to each other,
What's he talking about?
what in the world is he talking about? What's the point John's trying to make here?
Yeah.
They don't understand.
They
They
don't.
don't.
They just don't.
They're simple.
We approach this from post-resurrection.
Yeah.
Of course, it makes all kinds of sense,
Yeah.
and why don't they understand? Nobody has been resurrected, and nobody has been since. This particular weekend in history, no one has been resurrected since.
Right.
So this was not something, I know what he's talking about, it makes sense. They were confused. And, he keeps talking, Johannine circles is what I call them. A little while and you will not see me, but in a little while you will see me. Do you see? And they're like, no, we don't see, right? And they're awkward about it, and they don't really want to ask him about it. I think because they're embarrassed, but
Or
I
not
would
knowing
be.
what kind of other confusing answer they might get.
I would be embarrassed.
yeah.
I go to that scene in
Go ahead.
Chosen where
Yeah.
John is talking to Mary Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is he saying? And she kind of makes a guess. Well, he did say that a seed doesn't have life until it dies in the ground.
She gets it.
And
Yeah.
she got it. Now, that isn't in the Bible, but.
Of course not.
But it's that even John at that point, what is he talking
You're
about?
right. Right.
They did a real good job there at that.
Yeah, that's good. So looking at verses 20 through 22, what image does Jesus use to describe what is going to happen in the days immediately ahead?
It's going to be painful.
You will weep while the world rejoices.
What image does he use? He uses an image that
A
me and
woman
John
giving
and
birth.
Hinton have no business using. A
Woman
in
giving
labor.
There would only be one child to each couple if a woman remembered the pain that.
That's a good proverb.
Yeah, it
That's a
is.
good proverb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to do that again?
The pain was immense,
Right?
but assuming mom and baby were okay, then the joy follows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that
he's telling
joy
them
is bigger than the
it's gonna feel like that.
Mm.
That's how immense the pain is going to be over the next few days.
I can definitely
Kidney
relate.
stones.
Oh, hey, that worked too. Had that too.
I've heard,
It's the same.
I've heard it's not good. All right, let me give you something here. This is wonderful. Jesus' disciples are about to be plunged into a short, sharp, and intensely painful period. Jesus is going to be taken away, but they will see him again. And on this note, and Tom mentions this in the commentary of the book, one of the most beautiful movements of one of the most beautiful pieces of choral music that I have ever heard, Johannes Brahms' German Requiem, is the fifth movement, where he has a soprano soloist singing these words. I will see you again, and you will have comfort. It was like a mother. What had happened was Robert Schumann, a contemporary of Brahms, his mother died. And so while Brahms was writing this requiem, he thought about that and wrote this movement in tribute to her mother, to his mother. It's beautiful. And I encourage you, if you can stomach a little classical
love
music, classical choral music. I think it's about 6 minutes long. It's beautiful.
What is it
And,
called?
It's Brahms, 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 and the work is called the German Requiem, and it's the fifth movement. Yep.
I wonder if God put a little block in the disciples' heads so they couldn't understand, because if they had, I wonder if they would have started to cry.
They tried in the garden. As soon as Judas showed up, they tried to, all Hades began to break loose there in the garden. Peter, we know, and he probably wasn't the only one who grabbed his sword, but he's the only one we know of that landed a blow, That's an interesting question. I don't know. I just think this was really confusing for these guys. Because this was not, you couldn't read about this. Well, this happened then. They were doing this all new with Christ. So yeah, that's good. So Jesus is going to be taken away, obviously, but they're going to see him again. His death and resurrection are the necessary events that will lead to his going to his Father and his sending of the Spirit. These are extraordinary cataclysmic events, the like of which the world has never seen before. The disciples can hardly prepare properly for them, but Jesus wants to warn them anyway. It's all happening because with Jesus' death and resurrection, a new world, the new world, is indeed being born. This isn't just a matter of Jesus saying, there's trouble coming, but it'll be all right afterwards. It's a matter of seeing that when we find ourselves a few chapters from now at the foot of the cross, and then when we find ourselves after that with Mary Magdalene in the Easter garden, we shouldn't miss the significance of these events. They are not merely strange, shocking, and even unique. They are the visible sign that God's new world really is coming to birth. I mean, this is huge. It's huge. All right?
I don't think they had enough time to get to the point where they could put it together.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Let me finish this text for us here. Jesus still speaking, he said, I've said these things to you in figures of speech. The hour is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figures, but will tell you plainly of the Father. On that day, you will ask in my name. I do not say to you that I will ask the Father on your behalf. For the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. I came from the Father and have come into the world again. I am leaving the world and am going to the Father. Now you're going to have to excuse me here because I'm going to add some of my translation here. His disciples said, "Thank Yahweh. Now you are speaking plainly, not in any figure of speech. Now we know that you know all things and do not need to have anyone question you. By this we believe that you came from God." And then Jesus answered them, "Do you now believe?" There's that word again. "The hour is coming, indeed it has come, when you will be scattered, each one to his home, and you will leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have said this to you so that in me you may have peace." Is that Eirene Shalom? "In the world you face persecution, but take courage. I have conquered the world." Wow. Okay, look back at 27. Jesus' people have instant, immediate, direct, and valued access into the very presence of the living God. And why does Jesus say this is so? There's one simple reason. He loves us. That's it. That's it. He loves us. There's a long paragraph in the study guide that he talks about how this image of the distant God who needs to be sated by the blood of his Son before he will even deign to even think about maybe perhaps bending an ear toward us. No. Jesus, look at 27 with me again. He says, "The Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God." There it is.
And that's what we're,
You love
it's the same
Jesus?
for us.
The Father loves you. Period. That's wonderful. But how do Jesus' words about the character of the Father and his actions toward us challenge the way that God is often, even in the church, characterized?
You can't go directly to the Father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we and I don't see confession to a priest, and we've talked about this before. I don't see confession to a priest as necessary to confess our sins, but I also don't like to kick our brothers and sisters who do. I think that's absolutely fine, but we don't have to do that. The reason for that is we love Jesus, and because of that, his dad is our dad.
Yeah.
And he says, "You're all right. I like you. And I don't just like you, I love you." Right? So then in verse 29, I added a little bit of the SJT, Saint Servant James translation. I almost said saint. I could feel the lightning from somewhere. But in 29, how do the disciples respond to Jesus' teaching about the Father at the end of these great discourses?
Thank goodness.
Thank God you finally,
Speaking English.
thank you, Jesus, we finally understand, all right?
Yeah.
Right, but they don't understand it all. But they at least understand that he is going away to the Father, right? And they believe that he came from God. All right, so that's something, right? But then instead of, being proud of them, high five, no. He says, "Do you believe?" And you know who else he asked that to after the resurrection? Thomas. Do you now believe? Blessed are those who have not seen. And here he says, "Do you now believe?" Well, I got some bad news for you. You're all going to abandon me. You're going to leave me all alone. But then he follows that up with the beautiful, beautiful ending of this, right? So it's critical for the disciples to be able to glimpse at least a bit of the truth here so that they can have some preparation for what's coming.
Well,
Now, let me, and the last word here, I love it. The last word here, look at there, it's 7 o'clock. The last word here isn't one of warning. It's of good cheer. Somehow, even in the worst that is to come, the disciples can have a peace that will carry them through. And the peace doesn't come from a detached, philosophical attitude. It isn't a matter of saying, oh well, these things happen. It isn't a shrug of the shoulders, resigning yourself to the world being a nasty place and there being nothing much you can do about it. It's a matter of standing on the ground that Jesus is going to win. Indeed, that he claims to have won already. You'll have trouble in the world, but cheer up, he basically says. I have overcome the world. Now, how does knowing that Jesus has overcome affect the way that we view the trouble and suffering that come our way in life? I've been in the midst of, not for the gospel's sake, but I've been in the midst of a bit of suffering myself. And, it is so comforting. What a pickup it was to be studying this text today. And it has nothing to do with those miscreants down in College Park. That's right. But love you. But it does have to do, just whatever it has to do with. But it was such a pickup to open this today and just know that you're going to have trouble. Take heart. I've overcome the world. That's good, isn't it?
It was good.
Go ahead,
He's
Carol.
saying to us that we will overcome our troubles.
I've overcome them too, is what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something.
And at the very least, we have him.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, one of my mentor's wives she fell to pancreatic cancer 3 or 4 years ago. And one night, he shared this with me. They were sitting there and she was in a considerable amount of pain. And I mean, when I mention cradle Christians, these are the people I'm talking about. Grew up in church, went to Christian schools, went to Christian seminary, got out and started working for the Christian institutions, stayed in the church. They haven't missed a Sunday, I don't know if ever. And she was having a great deal of pain one night. And she looked up at my mentor and said, why? She said, we have been so faithful. Why? And then she stopped herself. He said she stopped herself. And she says, I can't say that. I can't answer. I can't ask that question. I said, I can't. She said, I'm not going to do that. I said, no, he has been so good to us. And they cried. They cried together because she said, I cannot. She said, he's been so high. I went, oh. I was like, oh, give me some of that. That.
So in a situation like that, I believe the Spirit intervenes.
I think so. I said,
Because
yeah,
she was speaking through the pain, not through her love.
she was. And she loved the Lord. Boy.
Yeah.
And she loves the Lord. So, it was good. So, in closing, there we go. So in closing, we want to give thanks to the Father, the Son, and the Spirit for the way they work together to demonstrate the greatest kind of love to us. We want to give thanks to the Father for his love and attentiveness to our prayers, to the Son for his sacrifice and his victory, and to the Spirit for his advocacy and guidance. And we just want to pray that we'll be able to take heart and find courage and hope in times of trouble because of what this God has done and continues to do for each of us. So thanks be to God for that. Thanks be to God for you, and thanks be to God for those that will be streaming this. Thank y'all for being here tonight, Obi. So glad you're with us again. And God bless you, and buddy, and I hope y'all have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.